So if you are familiar with Market One or MKT1, Kathleen and I still don't know how to say it, and we made the name 4 years ago, so we don't care, actually, is the real answer. You might notice this looks a little different. We're doing a little rebrand, and you're getting a sneak peek here today. I'm talking about the definitive frameworks, Krameworks, for not only B2B marketing, but also BTB, beloved tech brands. And I'm going to talk about mistakes that marketers make, and then the frameworks to help you not make those mistakes, as it turns out. So like Maya said, I've been in your seat. I've worked as the first marketer. I've been head of marketing. I've done pretty much all of the roles within marketing in some capacity. I've done that at multiple B2B companies, all with different go-to-market motions and different audiences. And then I've also worked with hundreds, maybe more, marketers and founders over the last 4 years as an advisor, an investor, newsletter writer, course teacher, I don't know, probably some other things in there. And I've also, with Kathleen, written our newsletter, which now has 40,000 subscribers. And yeah, we're getting there. We're doing all right. And so I'm going to talk about a number of frameworks. The first thing that people do wrong is they do what I call random acts of marketing. And this is the worst thing that you can do, and I'll talk about that in a second. What should you do instead? You need to actually make a plan to have an impact and make sure the work you're doing in marketing ladders up to something. So you need to think about how can you drive step change growth, or how can you get off of the growth trajectory you're on today. And usually to do that, doing the same stuff you've been doing isn't going to work. It's going to keep you growing kind of in the same way. And so you want to go for the step change. Another way to think about this is the Pareto principle, which is about 20% of the things you do are going to lead to 80% of the results. And so you really want to make sure you're setting aside time and planning for these moments of impact. The opposite of this is random acts of marketing. You might have seen me stutter, and that's because the RAM emoji is different in Microsoft. And I'm going to be honest, I like him better. Yeah. He looks cool. All right, so that's the random acts of marketing, RAM, that's a RAM, obviously. Random acts of marketing are like, hey, my founder saw this really cool punny Vanta billboard, we should do it too. But it doesn't fit at all with your brand, and it doesn't make sense for you to have a billboard in the Bay Area because you don't even target tech companies. So that's a random act of marketing. A random act of marketing is like, we're gonna do a bunch of paid, but you don't know what channel to use for your audience, you don't have any interesting value to put into that channel, et cetera. We all have fallen victim to doing random acts of marketing all the time. And one of your big jobs as a marketer is to prioritize all of these random acts of marketing into something that matters. So to avoid RAM, you need to do some planning. That's Goldilocks, obviously. She looks the same in Microsoft and Figma. But basically, you don't want to plan so much that you're doing more planning than working. I'm sure we've all been at big companies, or many of us, where the annual planning process takes a year. Not that, but you also don't want to do any planning. So I'm going to talk about what level of planning you need to do. Okay. The other thing you need to do to drive impact is not only does your product need to be differentiated, your marketing needs to be differentiated too. You can't copy what somebody else does and think it's going to work. And not only does your marketing need to be differentiated, every campaign you do, the content, the way you get it out to your audience should feel differentiated. So differentiation everywhere. So how do you drive impact? How do you build a beloved tech brand? You use this beautiful colored, although slightly discolored, pyramid thingy, which is that you set a strategy unique to your business. You develop a fuel and engine strategy. I'll talk about that. You figure out what your big bet or your high impact projects are. You set goals, but you don't spend too long doing it, and you use briefs. I'll talk about all of this, maybe. I have 8 minutes and 47 seconds, and Maya is holding me to it. Here we go, mistake number 2. All right, mistake number 2, kind of we've already talked about it. It's copying another company's playbook. What that means is you try to plug and play from somebody else. Salesforce did it, HubSpot did it, it'll work for us. It will not work for you. You are not the same stage. You don't have the same team. You haven't raised the same amount of money. It's not the same point in history. The market trends aren't the same. It's not the same, so it's not gonna work. So don't be like, I love Stripe's homepage, let's do it. Take some inspiration, figure out what you love, and then do what you love, find those attributes, and then maybe it works. So how do you avoid this? you make your own strategy, and you use these inputs to make that strategy. The first thing is you look at your product marketing research. That's just an umbrella term for knowing your audience, knowing the players in your ecosystem, both the competitors and the complements, knowing what your product does and why it's differentiated, and then all of that kind of gets wrapped up in your positioning. The other thing you need to know is what's your business model and your go-to-market motion. If any of you have switched from a PLG company, like me at Asana, to a sales-led company, like me at Carta, you would know that marketing is very different. It's not really the same at all, in fact. And so in Market One newsletter or MK21 newsletter, you can read about all of the differences in working at PLG versus sales-led versus hybrid. But for now, I'll just say it's different, and you should know that. It's also different depending on what the average contract value is and how long it takes to close. So those things make your marketing different, and you should recognize that when planning your marketing strategy. Next up, your funnel, hot topic. I don't care if your funnel is funnel shaped. I just care that you have milestones along the customer life cycle and journey, that you know what they are, and you say different things at different moments. And so you need to know your funnel, and you need to have a bottom-up forecast, not the forecast that comes from finance and sales, a bottom-up forecast that starts at the very, very top of the funnel. I've also written about this. Last is go-to-market catalysts, or we used to call them go-to-market advantages. I'm playing around with catalysts. I don't know, trying some things here. But I'm going to talk about that in a whole slide of its own. So go-to-market catalysts or go-to-market advantages are things that are innate or core to your business that when you accelerate them will make you grow faster. I mean, they're catalysts. They're your secret sauce. They're things you have that differentiate you. And when you build your marketing strategy around these things, you have a much higher likelihood of driving impact. In fact, Kathleen and I have a small venture fund called Market One Capital, and our whole thesis is around the fact that you need to have some of these advantages to win. So I'm not going to go through all of them because I have 5 minutes and 58 seconds, but I will say that some of these things are network effects or product virality. That's pretty obvious with a lot of the collaboration tools that many of us who have spoken have worked at, like Notion and Asana and Slack. Virality, network effects. Some less obvious things like partnerships, not just partnerships with your integration partners, but also things like Carta grew really fast because they had a channel sales relationship through lawyers. So that's an ecosystem catalyst. There's also Fuel, which I'll talk about in a minute. That's content and story catalyst. And this is like you have amazing customer love, and you can make amazing customer stories that nobody else can because people love you more than they love anybody else. That's what it's like to be me. Just people love me more than anybody else. I'm just joking. All right. The next one is like your growth catalysts. And those are things like you have people that just love to go to events. Like, look at us all here. We love this. And so if that's the case, maybe you're going to double down on events. I'm not going to talk about positioning because I'm going to write about it in 2 weeks. So this is just come back in 2 weeks. And also, I've got to skip some slides. So that works out well. Next thing I'm going to talk about is fuel and engine. You keep seeing me mention it, and you're like, what is this woman talking about? Is she really into cars? I kind of like cars, but that's not why I'm talking about it. I'm talking about it because to do marketing well, you have to combine fuel and engine. And when you combine fuel and engine for your audience, nirvana happens. That's a joke just for Jenny Tai if you're out there, and Sarah Sharp. So for marketing nirvana, you need to combine fuel and engine for your audience. Fuel is all the things you create that add value to your audience. Your content, your positioning and messaging, your design and creative. Fuel makes sense. And your engine are all of the channels and things that you do to distribute that. So I'd throw ops and automation and segmentation and the new hot buzzword signals that we're talking about today here too. Throw that all into engine. And so if you need to create fuel and you need to create an engine, and they need to go together. You need to distribute the fuel through the engine. And if you're creating fuel and you have no idea how it is getting distributed, probably not worth it to make the fuel. That's the fuel and engine framework. It's one of our core frameworks. What happens when you don't do this? Well, you can get all fuel, no engine. When you have this, you have a whole bunch of stuff, but you just haven't distributed it. And usually when you have this problem, you could probably take 6 months, write nothing new, and still have things to distribute. The next one is you have no fuel, all engine. This is more like you hired just a demand gen or growth person and you didn't hire a content and product marketing person. And so you're just supposed to like drive meetings, but you don't really know how. I think this happens a lot in sales-led businesses where it's like, I'm just sticking nothing into this engine, and so nobody cares. The next one is the wrong fuel for the engine. I don't know if you can see, I was trying to make an icon that was a square peg and a round hole. I spent too long on it, but all right, so I call this Tesla at a gas station. This is when you maybe make like some basic SEO content and then you're wondering like why it's not working on LinkedIn, is one example. But you get it, the things don't go together. And then the last one is you built great fuel and engine, they go together, but it doesn't fit your business. So maybe you made the perfect sales enablement material and your sales team's all ready to go out and use it, but in fact, nobody goes through the sales channel at your company because you're basically PLG and layered on sales assist in a bad way and nobody cares. That was an elaborate example, wasn't it? But you get the idea. Those are the 4 mistakes you can make. So figure out what mistake or what fail mode you're in right now. You're usually in one of these, and fix it. You might say, I'm at a really early stage startup. I don't have any of these. I call that a bicycle. You don't have any fuel or any engine. Make sure when you build it up together. Okay. The best way to get impact and combine fuel and engine and ensure you're doing that, ensure you're going for impact and combining fuel and engine, is to run high impact campaigns. That involves the whole marketing team sitting around a table like this. And it also involves thinking about, at every stage of the funnel, what is my fuel and what is my engine? If you can do high impact campaigns well, that means your team is a well-oiled machine or close to it. It means everyone on your team can work together. It means you're balancing fuel and engine, and it hopefully means you're thinking about your audience. All right, mistake number 4. Setting bad goals or no goals. These are bad goals. 100 MQLs, hate it. I hate it because MQLs are pretty, they don't really mean much. I'd rather it be demo form fills or something like that, and I'd rather have a conversion rate there too, because I don't just want to get them, I want to get high quality form fills. Write 10 blog posts, hate it. Because I hate it because 20% of the work typically drives 80% of the impact. One blog post can do the work of 10 if it's really damn good. The exception to that is maybe like SEO content. But for all other types of content, I write in my newsletter one really long post only once a month. But people don't remember that it's once a month because it's just like write this big thing and it drives just as much traffic as it would if I wrote 4 short things. So the point of all of this is to say, bad goal. It's also a bad goal to just not have goals and do everything anyone requests ever because that's RAM, random acts of marketing. So what's the secret? I'm trying this out. It's to not just set KPI goals, but to set KPO goals. KPIs, projects, ops. You need to set all 3 types of goals. KPI goals are the things that you have been doing, drive X amount of pipeline. Oh, my time's up. All right, bye. No, I'm going to finish anyway. Okay, so you want to set KPI goals. You want to set project goals to make room for that high impact work. And you want to set ops goals for things like tooling and hiring and making sure you're making time for those. And it's also really helpful to know as a team for this quarter or year what % of time you're going to put into each of those things. All right, I'm almost done. There are really only 4 ways to grow. And it's important also to know which ways you're trying to grow and improve that quarter or that year. Are you trying to drive growth more from the same market share? Are you trying to drive more market share in the same market segment? Are you trying to go after a new segment? Are you trying to capture your market more efficiently by improving conversion rates or lowering CAC? Are you trying to get more money out of every customer through changing pricing or increasing cross-sell and upsell? Finally, to make sure you're actually using your goals and not setting and forgetting them, you need to use this brief I call the GACS brief, G-A-C-C-S. This is you put in your goals, you put in your audience, you know the creative or the fuel you're going to use, you know the channels, aka the distribution or the engine you're going to use, and you know who is going to work on it and who is going to own it. GACS brief I've written about in Market One newsletter, I've written about in Lenny's newsletter. You can find all about it on the internet. It's huge on the internet. Last one, it's quick. Biggest mistake. This is great for internal marketing to other people in your company. They're not going to get this. Recruiters, founders, salespeople are not going to get this. They think marketing is like sales, 2 sides of the same coin. No, totally different coins. Marketing is a $100 bill. I don't know about that line. All right, so marketing teams are actually more like product teams. And I'm going to skip this slide, but Well, I'm not going to. Marketing actually should operate full funnel, where sales is really laser focused on closing deals. What do I mean by this? I mean, oftentimes marketers are pigeonholed to just work top of funnel, but you're actually most effective when you think full funnel and are helping to improve conversion rates and think about the customer experience holistically. Next, product and marketing, much more similarities than sales. And by product, I mean product engineering and design. Both teams are multidisciplinary. Both teams need to think in terms of short and long term. And skipping all the way down to the bottom, your content is another product that you are creating. And hopefully it's an impactful product. Content, product for your audience, much like the product team. This isn't to hate on sales. This is just to say that marketing is more similar to product. So tell your recruiters and your founders that, and it actually helps a lot to understand why marketing is setting goals and doing the things they are and thinking short and long term. That is all I have. And so remember, impact, not random acts of marketing, no sheep, and fuel and engine, combine them for your audience. And thank you for listening. You can find me in all of these places.